Welcome to the first of the 4-part video on writing an effective literature review. Learning materials for different stages of literature review is presented in this 4-part video. Part 1 is the introductory section. It explains what a literature review is and why a literature review is crucial for research. Part 2 addresses the literature review outputs, which cover ways to find relevant literature, qualifying the literature, how to read research articles, and how to deal with too few or too many sources. Part 3 presents the process for analyzing, synthesizing, and evaluating the literature. And the final part addresses the output process of reviewing the literature with focus on the art of writing an effective literature review. A typical approach taken by new researchers when asked to do a literature review is to produce a collection of summaries of the articles they have read. But an effective literature review goes beyond summarizing the literature. A well-written literature review makes use of ideas in the literature to justify the research gaps, conceptualize the research problem, select appropriate research methods, and demonstrate the contribution to knowledge. To produce a quality literature review, the researcher must be able to capture the following: appropriate breadth and depth, rigor and consistency, clarity and brevity, an effective analysis and synthesis of the literature. In doing the review, the flow cannot be detached from what has been written earlier. Instead, the researcher should explain how one piece of research builds on another. In sum, an effective literature review is defined as one that creates a solid foundation for creating and extending knowledge by facilitating theory development, bringing together existing research findings, and uncovers areas where research is needed. In general, literature reviews are produced in one of three contexts. Under the first context, a literature review can be an end in or of itself. We take this approach if we simply want to ascertain the current state of the art of a particular subject or problem. The second context is where it can be a preliminary stage in a larger research project. This is often required for a thesis or dissertation proposal. It is also frequently used as an element in proposals for research grants. It is undertaken to make sure the proposed research questions have not already been answered. And the third being a component of a finished research report. This type of literature review will generally involve building on and/or revising the literature review completed at the proposal stage. Its purpose is to help show how our final conclusions relate to the prior wisdom about our subject. In any of these contexts, a literature review can address either theoretical or practical problem. In general, there are two key elements in a literature review. First, it should concisely summarize the findings or claims that have emerged from prior research efforts on a subject. And second, a literature review should reach a conclusion about how accurate and complete that knowledge is. It should present our considered judgments about what is right, what is wrong, what is inconclusive, and what is missing in the existing literature. The literature review is a work of synthesis. For this reason, it is important not to simply write a summary list of what each individual work says. Instead, we should be focusing on the body of work viewed as a whole. A literature review is important for several reasons. It supports the developing of a solid theoretical foundation for research. This is enabled by a methodological analysis and synthesis of quality literature to find what is already known. But since not everything reported in the literature is equally rigorous, it is necessary to ensure the validity of the study and reliability of the results by making use of quality literature to serve as the foundation for our research. It is also used to justify the presence of a problem. An effective and quality literature review is one that is based upon a concept-centric approach rather than a chronological or author-centric approach. When reviewing the literature and when writing it, keep asking ourselves this question: how is the work presented in the article I read related to my study? Answering this question will allow us to tie the literature into our work. Researchers are also expected to address their proposed study in the context of the body of knowledge. As such, a quality research must provide justifications for the potential contributions offered by the proposed study. A systematic literature review is a process that follows the input, process, and output approach. The input process involves sequential steps to collect, know, comprehend, and apply quality literature in order to find a firm foundation to a topic and research method. The processing stage involves analysis, synthesis, and evaluating the literature. The output of the literature review process should demonstrate that the proposed research is able to contribute something new to the overall body of knowledge. The term body of knowledge here refers to the cumulative research-supported knowledge achieved by building on each other's research findings. To understand why it is necessary to conduct a literature review, two questions must be answered: what is research, and why a literature review is needed for any quality research effort. Research is a deliberate attempt by researchers to enhance their understanding of a phenomenon, and at the end of the study, they are expected to communicate what they discover to the larger research community. From this definition, we can make two important conclusions. The first is, findings from the research must enhance current understanding of a phenomenon by the research community or contribute to enhance the body of knowledge. And the second is, what was discovered in the new study must be communicated to the research community. Knowing the current research status of the body of knowledge in the given research field is an essential first step for any research project. Conducting a literature review can bring several benefits. A literature review gives a general overview of a body of research which we are still not familiar with. It can reveal what has already been done well so that we do not waste time reinventing the wheel. It gives new ideas that we can use in our own research. It also helps us determine where the problems or flaws are in existing research. And it enables us to place our research in a larger context so that we can show what new conclusions might result from our research. From our earlier definition, we should be able to identify the characteristics of an effective literature review. It allows the researcher to determine the research gaps. It builds a solid conceptual and theoretical framework from what is already known. The existence of the research problem can be supported based on what is needed to be known. Justifies the proposed research study as one that contributes something new to the body of knowledge, and facilitate the framing of valid research methodology, approach, objectives, and research questions for the proposed study. The purpose of a literature review is to present existing states of knowledge and frame the expected contribution to knowledge of the proposed research. When doing a literature review, we review the existing knowledge in the domain and identify the claims made in a literature, and then assess the strength of the support offered to those claims. In this situation, we consider knowledge as having two elements: what we believe and how strongly we believe it. It provides a framework for thinking about the possible consequences of new research. This can be in three forms. First, by creating a new belief in an area where people have no prior knowledge. Second, by altering an existing belief. And third, by changing how much certainty people feel about a current belief. A contribution to knowledge does not have to be brand new findings. Findings that can change our degree of confidence in an existing knowledge is also a contribution. It can also be new evidence that strengthens or challenges a particular belief. There are some basic guidelines to accomplish an effective literature review. We can begin by sourcing quality literature within the research domain. The review should enable us to precisely frame the research problem or research gaps for our study. Apply selective writing by presenting only studies that are directly relevant to our proposed research. Avoid summarizing each of the article we have read. By grouping similar studies together, we can create a theme for each category of discussions and impose some intellectual order to our writing. In the next video, we will find out how to find applicable literature, search for quality literature, learn ways to read research literature, and how to know that we are done with the literature search. Thank you for watching. If you find this video useful, please subscribe, comment and like so that more of similar videos can be created.